When MicroStrategy is going up, what I find is all of the skeptics, the haters, the people that don't understand it say, why is MicroStrategy going up? And when MicroStrategy is not going up, but Bitcoin's going up, that's when they jump on it and they're like, see, you should have just had Bitcoin. There's no point in having MicroStrategy.
Bitcoin has not actually been repriced since 65K, since the top of the 2020 breakout. I believe Bitcoin is going to hit one of those like rapid ascension moments anytime now. I believe we're knocking on the door. That's not how money works. Money's a vicious, brutal game. If they've got you trained to think that way, they own you.
Most people love stuff when the price is going up and absolutely despise it if the price is going down. What's going on, everybody? Very, very special episode of the podcast today. We are joined by Ryan Hogue, one of my favorite creators in the Bitcoin and MicroStrategy ecosystem. Ryan has a kick-ass Twitter account and online community on the platform School. He does a ton of technical analysis on MicroStrategy and on other assets, shares his insights and the trades that he is making in the market. Ryan, thanks for joining today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Pio. I'm excited to talk MSTR, Bitcoin, and all that.
Hell yeah. So we had a panel discussion on MicroStrategy not too long ago, but I want to bring you on for a one-on-one chat because you focus on technical analysis, which I love, and I think it's awesome to kind of study the price action of these assets. Obviously, no one can predict the future, but I love the insights that you present. I think in my 5 years, you and me were just speaking off camera about how we've been going hard for just about the same amount of time, 5.5 years. My 5.5 years of going super hard, in investing. I think right now, MicroStrategy's price action is one of the more interesting, just things to kind of study in investing I've seen so far. Because when MicroStrategy is going up, what I find is all of the skeptics, the haters, the people that don't understand it say, why is MicroStrategy going up? They don't understand it, right? Because maybe Bitcoin's not going up very much or Bitcoin's flat. MicroStrategy is multiplying, at the speed of light, right? Then when MicroStrategy is not going up, but Bitcoin's going up, that's when they jump on it and they're like, see, you should have just had Bitcoin. There's no point in having MicroStrategy. It's going to fail. Michael Saylor is going to get liquidated. These are the things you hear, right? Right now is a very interesting time for MicroStrategy. We talked about this on the other show. Went from a company that was buying Bitcoin, which was a novel concept in general, doing so through convertible debt, which a lot of people, it's not a novel concept, but a lot of people did not, know about the convertible debt market and didn't know it was possible that you could raise a bunch of money through convertible debt, plow it all into Bitcoin. People thought he was going to get liquidated. Obviously, Saylor survived the bear market. Now it's kind of turning into a financial services organization where we have Bitcoin-backed credit through financial instruments in the preferred market. So it's this, transitory period for MicroStrategy. Why do you think the price action looks the way it does right now? In other words, the stock's been going down while Bitcoin's either been going up or being flat. It hasn't been a great year for MicroStrategy despite being a solid year for Bitcoin. What do you make of this?
Yeah, personally, I defer to the charts usually, but without even pulling up a chart, I just want to say that I think it's because Bitcoin, in my mind, and I'd love to elaborate on this using a chart later, has not actually been repriced since 65K, since the top of the 2020 breakout. Okay, and I'm going to show you this with a visual. Okay, that goes back all the way to inception. Whenever you're ready for that. So I don't think Bitcoin has been repriced. This is not the chart I wanted to actually show, but I'm going to show it right now. Here we go. I'll switch it over. Right here, I call this my Bitcoin breakout log chart. Okay, so it's on the log scale. And what this is essentially illustrating is each of those white lines to me is like a level jump in Bitcoin, where anytime, once you've kind of discerned where the dividing line between the current level that Bitcoin's at and the next level has been established, this is a small sample, of course, if you're a statistician, but this is the sample we have since the inception of Bitcoin. At least it's consistent going back to day one, where you can predict when Bitcoin will be rapidly repriced. And so in my mind, to answer your question, before we get too deep into this chart, I believe it's coming. I believe Bitcoin is going to hit one of those rapid ascension moments anytime now, by the way. We're recording this in November of 2025. I believe we're knocking on the door of it for a number of reasons. So MSTR and its retracement that started in July, to me, is just a slingshot being pulled back because of what comes next. And there's a chart I also want to talk about where I think it was pulling back to the $250 range for a reason. Okay, there was actually a massive macro channel going back to MSTR's IPO in 1998 that essentially established this channel, and we broke out of it a year ago and we back tested it recently. So I'll pull up that as well. But yeah, I love talking macro. Like a lot of people sweat, they call themselves traders, right? And they sweat the day to day or even like the hourly charts. It's like, man, I could care less about that. You know, I'm trying to make generational wealth off of this coming opportunity should it manifest, which I believe it intends to. But let me walk you through this one. Yeah, going back to like the inception of Bitcoin, you can see here back in 2013, it had its initial, I call them log chart breakouts. You know, we're on the logarithmic chart and it broke out of one of these white lines. So it literally gained, when it broke out right here, I don't really need to measure it because I already have it written down, but it gained 1,670% in 13 weeks, you know, basically 3 months, 1,670%. Now, we're not going to see that sort of appreciation in 2025. It's a little bit more established, but what's crazy, by the way, these all correlate to, there's like different macro kind of correlations in other charts that correspond to these. Like one of my favorites to pull up is like the IWM small cap ETF. It breaks out in parallel with this. So there's hints everywhere of when we're going to see one of these breakouts. Oh, and by the way, Pia, we've already seen the breakout begin in IWM in 2025, in case you're wondering. Clean backtest candle last week of the breakout.
So that's super interesting. So essentially, if I'm understanding correctly, what you're pointing out is that, you know, maybe a lot of people look at Bitcoin as sort of an independent asset or an independent part of the market. You're saying there's correlations in other assets, other asset classes with Bitcoin that we can, you know, use to kind of gather information on where we're going to go.
Yeah, there's hints everywhere, man, everywhere. There's gold. Gold usually has its breakout and tops first, and then some period of time goes by. It's not like, this is what's crazy. People, whenever they talk about like static amounts of time, like the 4-year cycle must end on this day, it's like, yo, it's not how money works, you know? Money's a vicious, brutal game. If they've got you trained to think that way, like they own you, you know? You got to be fluid and dynamic in your thought process. But so yeah, I think we're in an extended cycle. Anyways, level 2, 310%. That's a 4x in 4 weeks. Okay, it was weird. 2013 was a weird year because there was kind of a double break, but it corresponds to the same thing in IWM, for instance. The next one, so from here to here, let's just see. From this breakout to the next breakout, that was 194 weeks. So that was an interesting one. That was like 4 years of essentially power building up for the next move, okay, that decided to manifest in Bitcoin. I'm always fair about how I measure these. So to me, the log chart breakout in 2017 started right here. It really started when it first broke above this line, and that was in May of 2017, but you can see it. I'll even zoom in here. Like it broke above and there was some trickery because then it got slammed back down. It back tested the 21 weekly EMA that provided support. And after that, it began its ascent. So when I talk about the actual breakout, I'm looking like right here and measuring from here, even though theoretically, like it started down here at $400 in April of 2016. But well, okay, in theory, you could have caught that because you can actually see it. It back tested the previous breakout line, but I'm being fair when I make these measurements. So when you scroll up here, I'm saying that in 2017, that breakout, it gained 650%. That's not measuring from April 2016. That's measuring from July 2017, where you had the clear discernible break. It went 7.5x in 29 weeks for perspective. So this is just meant to like get us excited about what's to come because that charged up for another basically until November of 2020. And it's the same thing here where a lot of people probably thought this move from the COVID low all the way up to the breakout level at 17,000. They probably thought that was the run. Like the run's over now. The reality was the run was just
$3,000, $4,000 to 17 grand, right? So a 4 or 5x.
And people probably thought the same thing, like, oh, the move's over here. The same way that back here, they thought the move was probably over because it had appreciated from 400 to 2,600. Right. But the move was just beginning. And it's like, I'm not making these rules. Hopefully, like these charts do a good job showing how it actually works. So no, the move was just getting started in 2020 from 17K. And there was this extra like kind of hidden resistance. It's not really captured in the weekly chart. If I switched it to daily, it would show that there was a resistance overhead. Once it breaks that secondary overhead resistance, like price just exploded higher. Ultimately, that was the 2020 breakout. It gained 275% in 22 weeks. And that was from here to here. Technically, it did the double top thing and it put in a slightly higher high. But I'm just measuring that to the April 2021 top right there. So all I'm trying to illustrate is that we are on the cusp of the next move. These white lines, their angle never changes. So you essentially, it's real easy to identify where we're at now because you literally just connect it to that first $65,000 top. and you extend it out. And if you count, they haven't all been clean tests, but there's, I would call that one test, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And on the 7th try, we got through. So it took like 7 tries and it took 5 years on this level on the back of like a massive inverse head and shoulders, or whatever you want to call it, really. Like all this momentum built up to get us through it. But this secondary kind of orange line overhead resistance has held us basically down. If and when Bitcoin gets back above the white log chart breakout level and above that secondary resistance, anybody saying like, oh, then it goes to 150, no, they haven't done their homework. You know, they're going to fail the class, unfortunately. People who think it goes to 180K, like I think that is a nice like macro next target, like 180,000, 181,000 as the next like bus stop on the way up before maybe it consolidates at least for a little bit. As you saw, if I zoom all the way out, even accounting for diminishing returns, the minimum that we should be expecting to me is, you know, at least like a 200% return probably. So like a 3x, I would say.
Okay. So I want to talk about two concepts here. So first, let me understand, are you loyal to the charts before anything else? In other words, a lot of people, talk about how, for example, previous bull runs were driven by retail. Institutions weren't around, in the past, and then now they are. You have, BlackRock, you have the institutional bid for Bitcoin, right? People think like now it's different because of that. You reference MicroStrategy, and we're going to talk about MicroStrategy, but you reference like, the all-time high previously from like IPO days, .com bubble days. Me, I'm like, well, that's just a different company. It might as well have a different ticker. You're factoring that into today's MicroStrategy. Are you loyal to the charts before anything else? And you're like essentially not as concerned about, external factors outside the charts?
I believe that the charts kind of guide us as to they tell the story, I think. And then the rest kind of just chases the story that's being told. If you ask me personally. So like dude, we have great discussion in my group. Like, we do like at least one weekly live stream. We did 2 recently, this past week. Like I've heard that question, recently. So I'm prepared to answer it, using charts if you want me to. Like, so it's a great question. Like this MSTR chart has been one that I've been favoring a lot recently. Now, first, if I just clear it, this is telling the story of 2 different companies. Like you're 100%. Like if I draw a big, maybe vertical line right there, that is the before after, right? MSTR before and then MSTR after. 2 completely different companies. But what's cool is these market maker algorithms, which by the way have me completely convinced that like our current understanding and concept of AI has existed well before. I don't know how far back it goes, but it's existed like well before 2022 or whenever the general public got access to ChatGPT for the first time. And then we were like, AI is here. No. Like these charts will tell you for sure it's been around, So I can show you basically like we have the before after. And honestly, do I need to draw another line in this chart? Probably not, because you can see that ever since it became the first Bitcoin treasury, the story of this chart has basically been changing in front of us. But Let me kind of show you something. I love this way of kind of illustrating the story being told about a company. So if I go back to maybe this is like 2008 and I just do something like this, pretend we don't know the future of MSTR. We could basically say that white channel more or less is telling the story of the expansion of the market cap of MSTR. We don't even need to know that this is MSTR's chart, right? We could just say, okay, that's the expansion channel of this company. Now, without a relative, something to compare this to, does that mean it's good? Does that mean it's bad? We don't know. But if I was to slap the expansion angle of Microsoft on this chart for comparison, it would look like this. And we'd say, okay, I don't want to buy company A, I want to buy company B with the much more rapid expansion. So MSTR, since it became the first Bitcoin treasury, okay, I'll hide this channel or I'll just make it like dark gray. It's starting to change the story, the narrative. Like the market maker algorithm being assigned is changing in real time in front of us. So now it got a little bit more aggressive with that channel. And you can actually see that it broke out of this channel, back tested, broke out, back test again. Okay, and maybe it's not completely like cleanly drawn. Like I'm doing this kind of rapidly. So you can see like it looks like we're back inside of it. I feel like if I drew that better, it wouldn't look like we're back inside of it. And the next one is looking something like either this, like that, right? And it's getting more and more rapidly expansive. Or I think honestly, the easier, cleaner way to do it would just be to connect the 2021 top right here, and then connect it out to the 2024. Yep. And it's something like this. And so what comes next is literally, it's not maybe perfectly illustrated in this chart right now, but what comes next is there's going to be a peak, in my opinion. Something similar to, this was the last time that there was an MSTR log chart breakout. So let me just clone this price action. And let's just say that we're something similar to this is what comes next for MSTR.
And you just made it steeper so that it fits within the center of that channel, like so that the bottom, because you just made it a bit, you gave it a more aggressive slope.
Yeah, I'm adjusting for scale, but the thing is, like, this is a log chart, so this isn't the best chart to be doing this on. Honestly, I should have done it on a linear chart. I was just trying to show for a concept of like the story of MSTR is being told in the pattern that the market maker algorithm applies, and it very like discernibly changed after it became the first Bitcoin treasury. And then going back to like what you said too, and if you have a question, I'll just draw this channel out in real time while you ask it.
No, go ahead.
But like, I'm gonna go back to the IPO and connect it here. And this is, to me, the primary channel telling the story of MSTR's expansion is that right there.
So, and this goes all the way back to, 2001.
Yeah, like 1999, or maybe I didn't draw that perfectly. It's something like that right there, I think. And what's really cool is like when I do this type of charting, I call this like high time frame macro. Like market maker algorithms love faking us out. I think they generate alpha by exploiting retail. I don't think they can outsmart each other.
Yeah.
So whenever you get these like really high time frame macro targets and they're respected, to me, that's a big positive sign. So even though this is factoring in the old MSTR, it's still relevant because I can clone this channel, by the way, and like align it to the top, or just double, I'm doubling the midpoint basically. So and so now look at how well this is respected back here.
It's
in the 1999. Yeah.
That's crazy that it's that clean.
It's that clean.
Wow.
And so we spent 24 years, this is the story of the company being told in real time. It spent 24 years down here. 1 year ago, it said, okay, we're done down there. We're done. We're up here now.
That's nuts.
But as you would expect, backtest, up again, backtesting again. Now we got a McDonald's plug-in subtly.
Wow.
And now I need a cheeseburger. But it's like, dude, we got our backtest. And guess what the next high time frame macro target is? It's literally, I'm just going to clone this and change the scale. And it's something around 1400 in Q2 of next year, in my opinion, personally. Like there's a lot of ways to reach that, but
why did you change the scale?
Just because I wanted to get to the midpoint. So it doesn't mean that we're going to follow this price trajectory exactly.
Yeah.
All I'm trying to illustrate is, it's easier to clone the bars. I think it just looks better in TradingView.
Sure.
But this is the next high time frame macro target.
Okay. So a couple things. So, well, first of all, this is nuts. Just seeing it, like over a 25-year period like that, or more, I guess 26-year. What you said about the algorithms getting alpha from retail, I think it's hard to deny that because, so I talk about this all the time. I tweet about it. I talk about it on our podcast. Most people are not rich. That's just how the world works. Most people are not rich. And it's been that way for human history. More people are actually rich now than ever before. Whereas like before it was literally like the nobility and the peasants, right? So that's how it used to be. Now more people are rich than ever before, but most people still aren't rich. Most people do things that don't make them rich. Most people chase an asset when it's going up in price, if they're even investing, right? So I'm just speaking about investors now. Most people love stuff when the price is going up and absolutely despise it if the price is going down. MicroStrategy hater community is essentially, you can sum it up. It's like that meme where the guys are like pointing, you know that meme where they're like just pointing behind? It's literally that meme. They're pointing and saying the price is going down. That's the comment, right? And all of a sudden MicroStrategy is a bad company. So right now, the price is down on MicroStrategy. If it rips to $1,400 from here, that's almost a 7x. Getting a 7x on Bitcoin, for example, is not, it's going to take a lot longer to get that 7x on Bitcoin. And I love Bitcoin, and my biggest position is Bitcoin, and wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for Bitcoin. This is why people find MicroStrategy interesting. They can accumulate more Bitcoin, and now it seems like they're going to be using that Bitcoin for what I think will be a pretty insane business model. But anyway, back to the charts.
100%, man. Yeah. No, 100%. And what's crazy is just, it may seem ridiculous to go to 1400. Like, I know most people are thinking in terms of like, well, what's the narrative that gets us there? But that's why I wanted to illustrate the Bitcoin log chart here. I said, like, look at if you think anything less than in my opinion, a 200% return, then you're the person telling me it's going to be different from before. You're the one saying this time's different. I'm not saying this time's different. I'm saying this time is the same. I'm saying Bitcoin, let's say it goes to, I think it's possible to go 350K. Let's say it goes to just 250K, which is a nice clean target that is, in my mind, like I've seen different ways of doing Fibonacci retraces that support that target as a target. If it goes to 250K, what is that? Like a double up basically from here. And then you get a little MNAV expansion on MSTR, which I don't think like MNAV is a trade signal. I think it's just a derivative of the price action of the stock. And I think the stock is being traded basically using charts like this, telling it where it's going, more or less. But I still think it's more a derivative of the price of Bitcoin as well. Like to me, it almost like is a perfect target. Now, when I say it tags 1400, like you're going to have to suspend disbelief there, just like you did in this previous run, you know, where it essentially went, 375% in 10 weeks. The craziest part of that move was at the very end right here, where it expanded, 150% in 3 weeks. But like these targets may seem random. Like this chart is not telling us, dude, I can blow your mind with some charts. Like that looks like a random target right here, but we've been doing everything just high time frame macro right now. You want me to blow your mind with some linear scale stuff? All right, let me tell you the story of MSTR and how it started moving on the linear scale ever since it became the first Bitcoin treasury. And you tell me if it's just coincidence or not, right? There is this concept in my mind. I love challenging myself to see things differently. I've spent, a few hundred hours in the MSTR charts, probably just MSTR.
I would think more. You're spending an hour.
Yeah, everybody always says more. I'm like, I don't know how long then. I don't know. I just guess. So it's this concept of like I'm just going to go off the colors that I have on my screen, even though the colors aren't actually relevant. So I have these white declining channels, parallel channels, and I've got the green support channels, okay? And this structure existed back in the 2020, 2021 move where MSTR went 10x, bottom to top, okay? And by the way, this was the last MSTR move that we have coincided with a Bitcoin log chart breakout. And MSTR went 10x. So when Bitcoin gets these rapid expansions, MSTR will generate alpha against that move almost certainly. And you can go into like the Bitcoin to MSTR ratio charts in TradingView, and it basically confirms that story. So we should expect the exact same thing to happen. Anyways, the way that, and this is easier to see in retrospect, but don't worry, I'm coming around. This is just for information purposes to where we are today. So basically, the thing that I want everybody to remember is that the right side of this channel, generally speaking, when you break out of the right side, you get another explosive move. The other thing I want you to remember is that the green channel, the bottom of it is where the move starts for the expansive moves. It's always the very bottom of the green channel, the green support channel. So even though it doesn't look like much, it actually did explode out the right side and gain like 31% in 4 trading days. But ultimately, it was a fake out and we were destined to go into a bear market. And honestly, like I always look for sell signals just like I do. You want to protect your wealth. So when you lost this green channel, I would say that was a strong sell signal. I always think this is really interesting that you basically would have sold when MSTR lost the green channel over here, but you also got basically out of it at the exact same time on the right-hand side, just using essentially, it's not really illustrated on this chart, but there was another way of kind of drawing this where the entire move up was supported by a parallel channel. I don't know how deep you want me to go into these charts, but I can show it really, really quickly. I just thought it was interesting that you would have gotten out basically at the exact same place. Did I rename this chart? You would have basically gotten out the exact same place if you sold the green channel or the primary channel that contained this entire move for MSTR, because we basically lost the 200-day and we lost the primary channel support, which is the bottom of that yellow line right here at $64 or $65. And that green channel support on that other basically got you out at 65 as well, just right here. But it got you out like 10 months earlier.
I mean, it's super interesting. And I'm a long-term holder of MicroStrategy. So I'm not as active as you are. You have your TA to kind of guide you for trading. I just held Bitcoin now for 5.5 years while accumulating more. Strategy essentially pretty much the same timeline. Obviously, he didn't announce until later that year, so it's maybe 5 years or something like that. But I've accumulated more this year too. Just kind of learning more about it from a company perspective and not just looking at it as Bitcoin. Yeah, I'd love to see, because you were saying you're analyzing the after the era of strategy being a Bitcoin treasury company. I'd love to see where we're at, from then. You just kind of gave us the first leg of it. I'd love to see the continuation.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. And I love the idea of accumulating. Like when I say that was your sell signal, it doesn't mean you had to sell, right? You could definitely shift your perspective. Like, you know what I mean? Like I see this is where I think I confuse some of my viewers too, that are like, oh, you said it was the bottom. Well, like number one, I always say if this was the bottom, like, you know what I mean? Like theoretically, but yeah, not financial advice too, by the way. But yeah, of course. So it's I just look at it through that lens, like if this was the bottom, but now we've gotten the like big high time frame 24-year macro back test of the 250 level. Well, that's a very logical one if you ask me. And yeah, like if you flip your bias to not be like super bull because, well, we lost the green channel support back here, then at least you can start selling covered calls more aggressively. You could even consider investing some of those proceeds into puts to protect your portfolio and do pretty well that way. So it's just about perspective, I would say. And yeah, this combo of like pairings, the white channel with the green channel, didn't exist prior to, the old MSTR, right? It didn't exist on the left half before 2020. So now you've got this kind of pairing, and there's different ways to draw this, by the way. I'm going to keep I'm not going to talk forever, but I'm going to show you another view where we simplify it, okay? Because currently it looks a little bit busy, but I just wanted to say it's that same concept of green channel support. The move begins off the bottom of the green support channel and moves like that. I have a separate chart for MSTR and the log scale, by the way, where every one of these big moves is captured. You know how I have the Bitcoin log chart breakout with those white lines? Well, it's the exact same thing just for MSTR. And it tells you when to go long. It doesn't give you an exact bottom signal, but it gives you the official, it is a breakout on the log chart and it works. You can retroactively apply it and it'll give you I think 9 breakouts in the last 3 years, I think. Just so it's very consistent. What's cool is there's signals everywhere for what's essentially coming in MSTR. You can actually predict this stuff. This was the Q1 2024 breakout right here that you're seeing. And then, essentially you've got the same concept of the white channel. It respects kind of the left half, then it departs to the 50% line, then it departs to the next side. So you can kind of see where it's level jumping, right? And why those act as resistances, and it doesn't just fly, it kind of resists there. So as soon as it breaks out though of the right side of that channel, you get the next explosive move, which was Q4 2024. And I did also just want to quickly illustrate that there is another green support channel that was excluded from that chart because I didn't want it to get too busy. But essentially what you're doing, and you can actually just see it in this chart, so I'll just stay here, is this green support channel, it does change its angle. As MSTR, expands and the scale changes, as the market cap expansion changes, it's a relative thing. It compounds. So that's the new angle of the green support channel. And essentially, again, the same rules are respected. It goes from the bottom of the channel and to the top. Now that top was not random. This chart doesn't do a good job illustrating it. Yes. I apologize if I'm a little all over the place, but okay. So look at this. So I just took that channel that we had, that exact channel, and I just duplicated it backwards. So you saw how I had it kind of drawn like this, where it's different scales of the white channels. The reality is you can take this channel right here and you can actually just duplicate and apply retroactively. And it's telling you the story of MSTR since 2024. So this is what's so cool, man. The 2020 scale of MSTR, remember how we said 2020 Bitcoin Treasury, patterns being applied now by market maker algorithms and just evolves. Well, it's still evolving. That's what I wanted to illustrate right here is these channels, if I was to retroactively apply it further back than January 2024, no relevance. So it's still evolving in real time.
That makes sense. I mean, nothing's going to be the same, like you pointed out before, and money's a brutal game. I mean, when you look at the previous Bitcoin cycles and the price action of Bitcoin, I mean, that 2021 double top was a very strange, cycle compared to the previous ones. Obviously, people have called this the most boring cycle or the worst cycle because it's been that structured, that staircase move up for Bitcoin versus the big retail FOMO. These charts are nuts. So if people are just listening to this, I'm assuming most people are watching it. You definitely should be watching it. But I was going to sum up Ryan's, analysis here. He just found a lot of patterns and a lot of channels. They just really line up very nicely. Like you draw.
Yeah, look at this.
It's nuts. This one's absolutely insane. The way those solid white lines really line up firmly with the peaks and the lows. So Ryan, when you think about
we're right here, by the way, sorry to cut you off. We're right here. We're literally just right here in 2025. That's it. That's where we are.
Before a huge breakout, in other words.
Yes. If I were to clone this pattern and bring it over, you'll see how it aligns. It is crazy how closely it aligns.
That's insane. So when you think about the Bitcoin cycle, you were saying, I'm not saying it's different, right? You just not care about the duration of time the way people do, because so many people, including really smart people, like Ben Cohen, for example. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah.
Ben Cohen's been right about, 5 or 6 things in a row this year. He even made a video commenting about wow, it's kind of nuts that I've hit, these predictions right. A humble guy. He's not, selling it like he's going to get everything right? But his position is Bitcoin should peak this cycle in Q4 if it hasn't peaked already. He's like, if we don't peak again in Q4, if we don't make a new all-time high in Q4, then that's the end of the cycle. We get a 1-year bear market and then you can start a new cycle, right? And a lot of people feel that way about the time, the time duration of these 4-year cycles. And everyone's like, it has to happen in this quarter of this year. It's not going to happen. Seems like you don't buy into that.
I mean, dude, imagine living in a world where things were that simple.
I know, right?
Like, come on now, man. It's just like, what if we like wrap the video with like, I can just give you like rapid fire all these things that are like macro that are saying, hey, we're nowhere near a cycle top. We're literally just beginning the breakout, you know?
Yeah, like, I mean, go ahead. And I want to hear about what other assets you take a look at too before we wrap. But yeah, I'd love to hear this cycle take.
Cool. Well, first I got to just bring it home with MSTR though. Cause like, look at how the, like we wouldn't have never known that this was the channel here, right? We had to kind of see that in retrospect, find it in retrospect, but it respects the left side of the channels, the midpoints as magnets, and then the right side, okay? So what we did here is we rejected off the right side of this channel twice, dipped back down, and then the breakout began. And the real entry would have been, and this is the 2024 Q4 move that we're looking at right here. So it broke out, faked people out, back tested this channel, and then it began a massive move. And I'm going to call this like level jumping. So it literally went through 1, 2, 3. And by the way, look how it perfectly captures. So remember how I said before that it looks like kind of random where the Q4 top was?
Yeah.
It's not random at all, man. Like it literally perfectly tagged the 50% line of the channel that we're currently in.
Yep.
But look at how we went through this channel, this one right here in 43. I guess that is a decent amount of time.
40.
Oh, that's days. That's days. Yeah, never mind. That's days. We've spent a year. Okay, that was 44 days. We got through this entire channel. We have now spent a year in this channel. Okay, tell me that MSTR as a company is dead. That's a silly thing to say. All we're doing, this is a battery.
Yeah.
We're building energy for what comes next. It's been a year. Okay, after spending 44 days in the previous channel, we spent 365 in the next. That's not bearish at all to me. And like where we've back tested so far, that 250 range, we already showed it on the high time frame zoomed out, 27-year context. It wasn't that we fell back into the channel of 24 years. We back tested the top of it. And as long as we stay above it, to me, like the writing's on the wall of what comes next. But I wanted to illustrate this concept. Remember how I said that like we tested once, tested twice, back down, and then up, massive move? Tell me that's anything different than test once, test twice, down.
And so one question, you just said that we touch the top of that channel, but it looks like here we dipped into the channel on that last one.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. So I'm like for the next expansion, you need the new channel. So I'm not like 100% on what this channel should look like, but this is what it looks like to me. You know how like, oh, it's, this is what 2020, 2021 looks like, right? Like, oh, it was a huge move, 10x. Now, if we compare it to today's price action, it's literally a blip on the radar, right? Like the scale is constantly evolving. Like, oh man, look how big, this move was, right? It's huge. This is what comes next. That's what comes next.
And we won't know for sure until it actually happens and you can chart it, obviously.
Correct. When I say this comes next, man, all I'm saying is that the Bitcoin log chart breakout manifests, because like I was saying, Bitcoin to me has not been repriced since the $65,000 top in 2021. Like that established the overhead resistance for this level, and Bitcoin gets Bitcoin itself gets repriced for the future of the technology. What are we calling it? Asset, technology, whatever it is.
Whatever it is. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, like it gets repriced sporadically on those log chart breakouts. Everything then, or between that now and then, or I guess, is just market maker exploitation of retail. And it's, I think, just because how like it's a log chart with an there's an angle to the expansion line. To me, that's just also like whenever you reach the top of it, it's almost like it's just getting revalued in USD. We spent 5 years from 2021 to 2025 trying to break out of the current level on Bitcoin's chart. Like to me, is this the chart I wanted? No, it's not. I think I might have closed it. Yeah, I might have closed it. Either way, what I'm saying is like, I don't think I think it basically Bitcoin at like 107,000 is just saying like, hey, remember when it was 65,000? Now revalue it for all the USD printed between when it was 65,000 and today.
Right.
Because it's on the same log chart level. So to me, that's the same Bitcoin. Bitcoin's story hasn't been allowed to evolve since then yet.
And so you think that when it evolves, it makes a huge move?
Yeah. I mean, don't take me at my word though, right? Like I just say this time won't be different. Like you've got the story being told right here. We've only seen it happen 4 times ever. And we're working on the 5th time. And you can see there, like the average of the last 2 from 2017 and 2020 is like a 450% return. I think the base case minimum should be a 200%, which is a triple up, in my personal opinion.
It's juicy, man. I think a lot of bulls will appreciate the commentary here. Were there other charts you said that you wanted to show showing Bitcoin?
There's probably other ones, but I think, by the way, this is a linear chart for MSTR. So like it gets kind of lost. Like the log scale, I think, is a better way of telling the story of Bitcoin and MSTR. But I think like MSTR's move could look, this is just me cloning previous patterns, by the way. So don't hold me to this as like, but you know what I mean? I don't think this time will be different. Like I think it's going to have Big moves up, consolidate, big move up, you know, and it's going to coincide with the Bitcoin breakout. And those Bitcoin breakouts, to me, like a month is short time frame in a sense. Like
Yes.
I'm thinking of how long these, like, notice I put the appreciation and the time frame.
Yes.
So 275%, 22 weeks.
Yep.
Most people are trading day in and day out. It's like, yo, chill.
That's almost
like you're only going to get these. Yeah, this was over 5 years for the next move. Over 5 years. So how long is it going to be before we go to level 6? It might be like 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. I don't know, Pio. I don't know how many chances we're going to get to do this, man. Where it's like you have clear cut indicators of when MSTR's price is going to begin to expand. Here's the linear chart. I mentioned I do have them on the log chart too. I can show you really briefly. Even though it's a little bit of a busy chart, but like it's those white decline lines. So this is one view, and then the other view is right here, where it's a little bit busier, but it more clearly shows the every one of those white lines is a log chart breakout. And notice the angle never changes.
So do you trade based on your charts? Like, do you trim and take profits, and then do you like buy back in when you think it's a good price? Like, or are you just always buying? Like, how do you operate?
I'm always buying Bitcoin, I guess you could say. Like
Yep.
cold storage Bitcoin, same as you, like kind of primary exposure. MSTR is, easier to trade, right? So I'm not really planning, like when I say trade, it's like more or less building a stack and then just trying to be strategic about managing it. So like that could be like selling covered calls. What do you do with the money after you sell a covered call? Is my bias bearish?
Yep.
A lot of my like group trade alerts have been, okay, we're above 390. If we lose 390, guys, like we're going to bleed pretty quickly to like 360. So that might be a good chance to enter puts. And you can get them for free by just selling covered call, rolling it into a put, not financial advice, that sort of thing.
A lot of people, I think, don't understand the benefit of having a big position in a company like this, right? Because it's not a $6 stock, right? So it's not like $600 to get a position that you can sell a covered call on. If you can get to the point where you have a sizable position in a company like MicroStrategy, you can generate so much income just off of selling the calls.
Yep, and you don't need MSTY. I've kind of advised against MSTY since day one because I remember how popular that was for a while, and I kept a lot of my members on the right side of that one. That's like down 60% this year. Like, no, I know MSTR hasn't been much better, but like, yeah, I'm not. You can just sell. You can do it yourself. We had Hermes Lux on as a guest, and he showed everybody how to do the 10 delta covered call strategy, and that's been great.
Yeah, I mean, he absolutely hit that one out of the park. This whole year, it's been phenomenal. What are we looking at right here?
This is just interesting, this would probably piss a lot of the Bitcoin bears off, but it's just like a kind of a thought experiment on where Bitcoin could be headed. So this is a log chart of Bitcoin. Okay. So log chart, like whenever you say on the log chart that like, oh yeah, and then it just goes to the midpoint, like that's actually a huge move. This is Bitcoin's entire life story told in one parallel channel. And this is just potential that we could be at the zero line basically for Bitcoin. And the upside is uncapped basically from here to the midpoint, because this is all on the log scale, the midpoint right there, 1.3 million. And that goes up to like 16 million. Anybody who's studied Bitcoin and has an open mind, and honestly, like the best way to really, I'd say, understand Bitcoin is with an open mind. And a great complement to understanding that is to really study how the world that we co-inhabit really works.
Yeah.
Wink, wink. Like not how the mainstream news is reading a teleprompter and implying it works. How it actually works is what I'm referring to. Then you can maybe say like, maybe Bitcoin has a bigger role to play, because a lot of this stuff is intermingled at a high level, at a macro level. But this is cool. So this is implying that Bitcoin could have a breakout. Notice the yellow arrows showing the breakouts. Well, let me pull up the IWM chart now. And remember how I mentioned that there's often correlations between IWM breakouts and Bitcoin breakouts? Well, look where we are right here. Clear as day. Like IWM's been working on this breakout for a few months, I think. Same with Bitcoin, by the way.
Yep.
Like they're both working on their next explosion, their next massive expansive move. And Pio, man, there's like, I don't have a chart for this, but there's a lot of similar vibes right now to like 1999, which I think people think of 1999 and think of like bad bubble, but it's like
bursting.
Yeah, who cares? Like, dude, ride the bubble up and then go short. If you can nail that once in your lifetime, you will literally retire your grandkids' kid, theoretically.
And so, okay, so you bring that up. So what does that look like for you? Does that mean when we hit, certain levels and you think it's time to go short, you sell your entire MicroStrategy position, you sell some of your Bitcoin position? Like, how do you benefit from that?
So my personal plan at a high level, and I'm glad you asked, is going back to that first MSTR chart, which, did I lose it? I think it's right here. Okay, this chart that we were working off of. So again, piggybacking off the words that I just spoke.
Yes.
Because I think it best illustrates my mindset is if we get this right, this move from 270 after this big macro backtest that while everybody else is bearish and they're capitulating, we're like, oh my God, what a bullish backtest. It's not bullish if we fall back into this channel, to be fair, but like we're nowhere near that right now. I think if you do this on the monthly highest time frame, the exact line in the sand is $235. And that's using the magnet tool in TradingView. So it's like pixel perfect.
That's pretty low considering
it's pretty low.
We went to 220, I believe, off of the all-time high of 540, which is a gnarly pullback. That's absolutely gnarly, right?
Yeah, so I don't think we need to go lower, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, because there is a little bit of a gap in, like I said, depending on how you draw it exactly. Like if I like to go off the IPO though, personally, like and just give you the full encapsulation. But there are people who would say you don't need to do that, and I respect their opinion. There's other people doing TA with like very similar approaches. Like maybe they saw my videos, whatever. I don't know. Maybe not. It's not that hard to figure out. Like either way, I don't know if we need to go back any further. Like that might be because you can even zoom in right here and just say like this whole box of weekly candles over the span of like 4 months. To me, they tried to tag this line, right? But they fell short. They weren't allowed to. It got bought up. It got bought up before they could tag this line. People were bullish on MSTR. And then back here, they also had those moving averages, though, to catch it. So it looks like we don't have any moving averages. But I was having fun with my group over the weekend, if you want to call this fun. And I actually guessed, the 400-day moving average. Turns out it wasn't the 400. It was the 450. But that caught the, we got to switch to daily time frame. Sorry. So it bounced perfectly off the, this is how I wrapped up our call on Saturday, because I literally guessed it perfectly. Once I saw the 400, I was like, nah, that's the 450. Boom. Tagged it exactly. Caught the move on Thursday's sell-off. So not that really matters, but in case you're wondering, it's never that random. There's always like a significant high time frame moving average.
Yeah. Okay. And so back to the,
Yes. To answer your question. So I think high time frame macro between where we are now and here, I'm basically doing downside protection, trying to make sure if there's signals that, hey, this isn't going to manifest, that we get out, like basically the whole story has been written in the last 3 months since July or 4 months has been protecting our capital. Like the fun part hopefully begins last Friday. And now we can begin the ascent. But like a lot of people are going to be calling tops at like 450 is a significant level, 540 significant level. There's a hidden log chart resistance at like 620, 630. They're moving targets, but like I'm saying, no. I'm very focused on this. I don't care if we get there in 6 or 8 months. When we get here, man, like that exact, I know it's not like adjusted right now perfectly, but when we get that tag, that's the generational wealth opportunity, in my opinion, not financial advice. But if you're willing to do like I am, if you're really confident in this stuff, and I haven't shown, like, dude, I've spent so many time in charts. I could show you other charts that where you do the exact same approach, high time frame, macro, parallel channel, multi-decade. Like gold is another prime example I could pull up really quickly. But basically what I'm going to do is sell covered calls very aggressively and roll those, because the premiums on those are going to be astronomical.
Yeah.
And I'm going to roll them into very aggressive puts with different expirations, different strikes. And I'm going to believe that MSTR is going to do what it did last Q4. It's going to retrace probably 30% in a week, and those puts will print unfathomable amounts of money. And that's where the real generational wealth is made. It's actually off of MSTR's price going down, which I know is sacrilegious to say, but I don't care. Like it's not me. I'm still have all my shares, and then I'm going to take that money and buy more shares.
Yeah. So the reason it's not sacrilegious to share, if you actually understand anything about markets, is the fact of the matter is nothing's just going to go up. So it can't be taboo to talk about the thing going down, and everything goes down, including the best stuff ever, right? Like whatever your opinion of the best thing ever is, maybe it's gold, maybe it's Nvidia, maybe it's Google, go down at some point. This thing, MicroStrategy, happens to be volatile as hell. I love that. And I've looked at how much I could get in premium on selling covered calls. My position right now, I sold really, really aggressive ones, which I've never done and I generally don't do. With the same mindset that you just had, I was like, all right, well, if this thing goes to over $1,000 and I decide to get hyper aggressive on these covered calls, knowing that it probably isn't going to live at north of $1,000 for a 6-month period, right? I mean,
even though that's what Twitter narratives are going to start, that's what it's going to evolve into. We're here. We finally made it. Another stock split. They're not going to stock split it right away, I bet, because they know it's going to retrace.
They didn't stock split it the first time until it was really solid at that point. Because you can't, if you stock split it by a factor of 10 and then you correct by 90%, people are going to be appalled. No,
Right.
like the previous correction was like 60, like 540 to 220. Like the math on that, what, 60, 70%, right? Like
Right.
that's
Right.
gnarly. Okay. So anyway, back to you. I love the strategy. Premium on those covered calls is going to be like 26, like on my position,
Yeah.
doing the math, it's gonna be like 30 grand a week. Like, you
It's
know,
gonna be unfathomable, man. Yeah, it's gonna be, and I'm gonna sell like in the money covered calls, dude. Like I'm willing to get aggressive like that. You saw like that is the way you reach that 1400 target. And by the way, it's not static. Anybody watching, it's not 1400 on the money. It's a moving target. It all depends when you get there. But like my conviction is gonna be, and I'm always, this is always subject to change, by the way, right? Like I'm in these charts daily. Like I'm treating this like a job. You know, like my past life, dude. I was teaching people how to sell t-shirts and make money online passively, and like that was great income. You know what I mean? But I was rolling all that into Bitcoin behind the scenes. That's where it's like now the, the departure, kind of begins, because it was great money. And people think in terms of static amounts of money that I was making off t-shirt sales. No, I'm multiplying that on the back end through investing. Gold. So just another like high time frame macro. We're going back all the way over here, 1979. Okay. This is 2011. So think about the number of decades we're talking. This is lifespans or spanning lifetimes. I'm just going to duplicate this, move it up here. Okay. That's one. This is the next one. Ready? We do it one more time. Now tell me with a straight face that the top in gold was random. Tell me with a straight face.
So
this is what I'm saying, man. These macro high time frame levels are respected by the algorithms, and they're set up a lifetime ago. It's not random. That's all I'm saying. It's not random. Like So that's why I'm going to come with, because even if I'm wrong, it's like, okay, what? So then I just wrote MSTR from 270, which I've been adding down here. 250, I guess, 250. But I kind of missed my chance on Thursday. So I was adding on Friday at 270. That's why I said 270. We were sick last week too. So it was kind of like one of those things where it's like, I don't trust my brain 100% because I'm like, it's like, so this is just another example. And these are everywhere. These are on like every chart. If you look hard enough, you can find them. It doesn't mean like this, you would have been waiting for who knows how long, a decade to get this opportunity to short gold. Like gold will rapidly retrace. Like you make the most money. Well, also if you had strong conviction going long gold to this level, but how do you know it was that level and not this one, right?
Yeah.
So to be fair, but as soon as it gets here, gold had the second highest RSI on like high time frame monthly that it's ever had in anybody's lifetime right here. So if you just combine that, that would have been an all-in short gold opportunity. And it literally fell 11% in 2 weeks. Like if you know how to monetize that, you're making so much money,
And strategy is more volatile, so you can monetize it in a more aggressive way. It's riskier, right? But okay, so think about this strategy. I think a lot of people will understand like, hey, MicroStrategy gets to a level that you think is running hot would be a kind of layman's way to kind of frame it. So, okay, over $1,000, over $1,200, depending on the time frame, you're going to have an idea because of your charting. Once it gets to that point, you're selling these hyper aggressive covered calls. Are these covered calls being sold on a short time frame?
It all depends on what you want to do, man. Like, and that's one of those things where it's like lately the focus has been on protecting our positions, basically. So I want to give it more thought, but like, I think you could do what you think is most beneficial. Like I very much believe that the market maker algorithms, which by the way, this pattern that's been applied is the most bullish, expansive one I've ever seen. It's more bullish to me than like Palantir. Nvidia's a tough one, right? Like, I don't know about that, but so the way it moves is violent, right? Violent moves up, retracements, violent move up again. It's repricing MSTR and MSTR's market cap rapidly. And that's the thing. It may not feel that way right now, but what comes next is a 7x, I think. Like maybe not 7, but whatever it is, 6x or something.
And so I was just asking about like, because obviously the premium you get with covered calls is way better when you extend the time frame, right? 30 days is going to be way better than 7 days.
Oh yeah, 30 days easy from that top.
Okay. So you're thinking 30 days. And then with the puts that you buy to essentially capitalize on the drawdown, is that another 30-day type thing, you think?
Well, I'm going to sprinkle in weeklies. Like last time it happened on a Thursday. This literally generational wealth candle, right? That's 21.
The 540?
This is monthly time frame. That's why I was getting confused. But basically it was 540. Like that was on a Thursday, man. If you did Friday puts, but like who has that kind of stones? I don't know how many people else out there have like my charts,
Yeah.
Like that have literally, because you found it this way, but you found it other ways too. There's another chart I can show you also showed that was the top. And honestly, I haven't even brought this one up, man. We could talk about this forever. I know you don't have all day, so I'll make this quick. But like, this is the new expansive channel. And this was a cool group discussion that we had over the weekend. So you know how I was showing I guess I closed it, but it was basically this channel here for MSTR. and it went back to the IPO, and then you got the old MSTR and the new. Well, this channel and its expansive angle is not really representative of like the new MSTR that began in 2020. It's not representative. So we're gonna have to leave this one in the dust at some point, even though it's still gonna be respected. Like at some point, we're gonna be up here, you know? At some point we'll be up here. It's
Yeah.
when MSTR is like one of the most valuable companies in the world.
As time goes on.
As time goes on, for sure. But this is the more like relevant channel. Okay. And there's a little bit going on here. Let me delete some of this stuff. Basically, this angle of expansion, and this is a log chart, but it basically comes in with the COVID low, connects it to the 2021 top, and then just connects price action along the way. To me, this angle is more representative of MSTR's kind of lifeline moving forward from 2020 on. And this is also an extremely bullish channel. So that target that I had right there was 1400.
Okay, so that's your target. It's a moving target. You'll make adjustments over time, but as it stands right now, 1400.
Oh yeah, but I wanted to show this. This also captured the it captured the Q4 2024 top. That's what I wanted to illustrate about this. Is it's using the COVID low and the 2021 top, and it's just connecting a bunch of price action along the way. And if you switch this from weekly to daily, you'll see even more confluence around the levels here. But like it gave us that top right at the 50% line. So there's ways, I'm telling you, that we can identify these tops using, again, macro zoomed out, like very high time frame stuff.
Yeah. And so obviously I'm not asking you to give people financial advice, but you know, just given the level of sophistication that's going into your analysis and the fact that, you know, it looks like you really have a feel for it at this point, given all the hours that you put in. I'd love to know if you had a hunch of when the next, you know, blow off top all-time high, multi-year all-time high is. Maybe it's 1400, like whatever the number is. How long do you think we hit before we hit that?
Yeah, it's a great question. Like I struggle to answer it because I do think there's a case to be made that we could be on the cusp of like a move similar to, like I said, 1999 to like 2000, where we run for a year. We run for like a year solid. I think that there's a case to be made for that. One of the, I mean, I know the call's been on for a long time, so I'll just do a quick like illustration of this. If I go to the weekly time frame on Bitcoin, there's this metric called rate of change. Oh, this looks all messed up right now because basically on the weekly time frame, so if I switch this to daily, those will all line up. Basically what this is saying is Bitcoin's 200-day rate of change. This is the 200-day rate of change. Like whenever this breaks out, it actually gives you a good preview of when explosive moves are going to start. But if I switch this, if I just clear these drawings, actually I don't want to do it on that chart because I might forget to restore them. But like if I go to the weekly time frame, Bitcoin 200 rate of change, what I'm really trying to illustrate here is that on the weekly time frame, going back all the way to 2015, we are basically resetting the, like we need Bitcoin to like have a really explosive move because these peaks, they tell the story, or they essentially enable the explosive moves moving forward. But because it's a rate of change, like it's measured against like kind of the past. And essentially when you get these big deviations upwards, like it's looking at where we are relative to the 200-day moving average, which we're currently, as we record this, like sitting on top of it. So it's like, we're kind of ready for one of these like massive pull-ups. Like we need like it's hard to illustrate. It's one of these things where I've spent like, you know, days kind of studying, and I do it on like other charts. Cause if I just look at Bitcoin, what does that tell me? If I just look at MSTR, what does it tell me? But I can go into like, you know, the Mag 7, all those big stocks, and like, you can very clearly see, like what I'll do is I'll hover over the breakout, and then I'll have the other half of my screen showing me, oh yeah, when it broke that downtrend in the rate of change, there was an explosive move that accompanied it in the actual price action that we sweat day to day. So there's a lot of signal here, and Bitcoin needs to be reset to the upside on like the high time frame. Like this is weekly that I'm showing you right here.
Yeah.
MSTR, if I was to pull that up just like for 2 seconds, we're also right up against or it looks like actually we began. That's really bullish, man. The 200-week rate of change breakout began today, this morning.
Well, the markets are insane today. I'm seeing text messages pop up from my friends being like, yeah, insane action in the market today. So I can't wait to see it. I'm a big iron guy. I saw iron's up like, I don't know, like $14 or something per share because of an announcement of a new deal. Are you also chart iron?
Oh, dude, I do all of them. Yeah. My whole group, man, we're all over that stuff. We're all over, damn, that's crazy. No, I mean, right now, man, like, my exposures are not like all in because I want to add call, like basically I want to add calls to MSTR, like more aggressive calls.
Buy call?
What was that?
You want to buy calls?
Buy calls. I want to buy calls aggressively when we get out of the right side of this channel that are basically shorter dated, targeting 450.
Shorter.
So anybody watching till the end, that's your prize. I want to target the 450 strike. I honestly, in a perfect world, because this chart doesn't have the 200-day moving average, 200-day moving average is like right up here. I think it's going to break out tag the 200, back test the channel. Right there on that back test, if I'm given the opportunity, I will slam dunk insanely aggressive calls on MSTR right there, targeting 450. And then when we get to 450, I'm going to trim them and I'm going to get more responsible because I don't like to sweat my positions day to day.
Of course.
That's not my goal.
450 though, I mean that, and you're saying short timelines on these calls, like how long? 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Oh no, like more like, for me, it's going to be, I don't like to be less than a month out because you're bleeding to the time, so I want to be like 2 months out.
Okay, that makes more sense because I was like, 450s. I think I have a covered call for 450 expiring like December 5th right now, which was like a 5 delta when I sold it. So, I don't know if it's going to just rip to 450, but I mean, 2 months.
No, there's plenty of resistances along the way, but that's like my psychological, like, we'll get there. Then I expect it to give a little bit of a deeper retrace than I think we'll experience along the way. We'll consolidate along the way, but like, 450 is one of those levels where it's like, we're not going to blow straight through there because above there, it's going to accelerate rapidly.
Yeah.
Or 460, I would say 460.
This has been absolutely electric. Before I let you go, I want to ask one more question. Besides Bitcoin and MicroStrategy, what else do you own?
The miners, man, like we were just talking, I know, cause we could have went on for another, dude, those miners. And, basically I like to keep it simple. I'll go to a linear chart. I'll put a parallel channel showing the story of the expansion of the, whatever it is, the miners. I'll do a log chart. I'll do the same thing. So that gives me my macro, like, upside targets. It doesn't mean that I think we'll hit the top of the log chart channel targets, but some of those miners, the what is potentially possible is like, if I were to even say it right now, people would be like, nah,
they'd be offended by the price prediction.
Yeah, it's almost better if I just don't. There's no need. Like, if you want to jump in the trade, you can do it yourself.
Give me an iron price prediction. Like, let me hear this.
All right, I already killed the screen share, but I'm gonna pull it up on iron and just say iron can go. So next year, if we hit a top in, like, let's just say we top, this is a kind of a base case. I think we could run longer, but I think a base case, in my opinion, given the length of the previous Bitcoin log chart breakouts being like 6 to 8 months. Okay. So if we top in Q2 of next year, iron could go to like $840.
Yeah.
That's the best. That's the top of the channel though. So if it doesn't go there, the midpoint of the next channel is 381. We're currently rubbing against the top of the, like, basically we're currently at the 50% line. We're at the 50% line at $71 as we record this. The next macro target would be 250. And I'm kind of zooming out because, again, these are moving targets going up with time, but 250 would be the next. And then after that, if we top in Q2, it's around like 800, let's say.
Can we briefly see this? Can we see this chart real quick?
Sure.
Q2 top next year feels like it's realistic.
To me, yeah. I've thought a lot about this. I think Q2. Now, this is like pretty basic TA. And I'm not like, I haven't spent nearly as much time on Iron's charts and stuff like that. Like, I don't really like how this chart is drawn out, but I did this at a rudimentary one. It might not be best illustrated. Like, another one might be like Riot, for instance, on the log scale. By the way, look at this massive consolidation that we broke out of. I mean, beautiful. Now it's just consolidating around the 236 at $21. When it breaks, it's going straight to 32. Like, things don't need to be that complicated. We can look at it, zoom out, and just, it's pretty clear what's happening.
Yep.
You can go to like Mara on the log scale. Mara's been teasing people. Mara's like the MSTR of miners, It's like, it's the most obvious blue chip choice.
Yeah.
So what do? They suppress the price, and it's like they let everything else run and create FOMO. But Mara can go, dude, midpoint of Mara, which, let's just go to the 3618 midpoint right there. That would be in December, is 83. I don't think that's necessarily probable, but like, again, if the Bitcoin log chart breakout manifests, Bitcoin goes 3x, like, guys, you need to open your minds to this being possible. Top of the channels up here in like the 500s on Mara. What's another good one? Like Cypher is another huge one.
Cypher's a good one.
Yeah. So you can see there's like, basically there's two channels kind of. Oh, I had an alert on that channel, so I'm not going to delete it, but you can kind of see that, like, it's got this green channel that was telling kind of the old story of Cypher, and then the red channel is telling the new story. Again, this is the log scale, so I'm not doing like real TA off the log scale. I'm just thinking of like high time frame macro targets. Like Cypher, it's going to hit the 50% of this red channel. That's going to be at about 28. The next target's going to be the top of the green channel. It's going to be 54. If it gets above 54, man, it's going to target the top of this red channel macro. It doesn't mean it gets there for sure, but like, the one thing I guess I'd challenge people to take away is if you can just zoom out and think high time frame, if it's going to leave this green channel, if it's going to leave it, because it could just stay inside of it, right? It doesn't need to break out of it. If it's going to actually build up enough power to leave it, you should be thinking it's going up here. And the reason you get that red channel, by the way, is from down here, connecting those two bottoms. And if you don't understand the relevance of doing that, like, a great homework assignment for anybody that wants to learn basic TA is just learn about the parallel channel in TradingView, learn about the magnet, and just jump in and go to any chart and just draw some channels, and your brain will start to see the patterns that are being applied and how these things move. And on a high time frame, they respect the 50%, the bottom, the top, you know?
Yeah. I mean, look, this was an absolutely fantastic conversation, Ryan. So people should follow you on Twitter. It's at Ryan's Method. I'll have the editors put it on screen. I should have had them put it, or I should have had you put it in your name, but it's all good. Ryan's Method on Twitter, only 14,000 followers is criminal. Absolutely criminal. So people need to get that, that number up for sure. And of course, school.com, you got the handle of MSTR on school.com.
I did. I took it. Sorry, guys. It's mine.
That's really good. So School is like a platform where you can, join people's communities and you can pay, to get access to them and ask them questions and stuff. You essentially hold, sessions in there and you post your stuff there first, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, and post like video pre-market updates, stuff like that. But it's cool because like a lot of people who don't feel comfortable being like super active on Twitter, when they're there, it's like, it's just a tight-knit group of people that we're all friends, and we can like be excited when MSTR is up and share the sorrows when it's down. And
obviously if people watch this, they saw the substance that you bring. So I can only imagine that in the School group, I mean, I'm like, I got to join this group and like understand.
I'm gonna shoot you an invite.
Well, anyway, make sure you give Ryan a follow. And Ryan, thanks so much for joining, man.
Yeah, man, this is awesome. Thanks for the invite.
My pleasure.